Before we get started with the video, I've recorded like my last 7 videos in bulk, so I haven't really recorded in about 4 or 5 days. So this weird clip of me is just me getting back used to talking. We got the, you know what I'm saying? Come on, let's get started. Bro. So I think it's time we talk about the Philadelphia 76ers. And over the past season, they've been injured. You know, Tyrese Maxey goes down, Paul George goes down, Joel Embiid goes down. But one thing I want to give the Philadelphia 76ers credit for is they always put a competent team around Joel Embiid. Ever since Joel Embiid's rookie season, they have been in contention for playoffs as long as he is healthy, and they have always put proper teams around him, whether that's drafting Ben Simmons, whether that's going and getting Jimmy Butler, whether that's going to get James Harden, whether that's drafting Tyrese Maxey, whether that's signing Paul George, whether that's drafting Jared McCain, whether that's landing the 3rd pick in the draft. The Philadelphia 76ers always have a competent team around Joel Embiid, so as long as he's healthy, their championship window still might be open. And even if you look at the Philadelphia 76ers record and how they finished out the season, you know, with guys like Tyrese Maxey being hurt, Jared McCain, all those other guys, we still got a lot of really key contributors throughout this team. I mean, Guerschon Yabusele is going to be somebody that I believe is going to be re-signed this offseason. The same could be said with Quentin Grimes. So you have a core of Joel Embiid, Paul George, Tyrese Maxey, Jared McCain, Quentin Grimes, Guerschon Yabusele, and now you have this 3rd pick in the draft. And you can do so much with this 3rd pick in the draft. You can go out and trade it, and you can trade for a ready now, championship-ready player in, let's say, a Kevin Durant. Or let's say you stick and pick at the 3rd pick. There's still a lot of very talented prospects outside of Cooper Flagg and Dylan Harper. You have VJ Edgecombe or Ace Bailey, the 2 guys I believe you would select with those number 3 picks. And then you have an opportunity where you can trade down with a team and you can go get a ready now player, and you can move back in the lottery and go get somebody that you can develop as well. And coming into this season, I think the Philadelphia 76ers, no matter what they do with this number 3 pick, can be built to be one of the better offenses in the NBA. If Joel Embiid is what we think he could be, or just be a top 5 to top 10 player, and then you have Paul George, who's still a phenomenal shooter, somebody that could be a 3rd option offensively, and I know he had a really bad season, but I do think he's still a solid defender. He's a solid passer and a really solid shooter that can play off of Joel Embiid very nicely. And then you have Tyrese Maxey, who I think made a lot of improvements this year as just a ball handler, a playmaker, and a scorer that does not have to rely on Joel Embiid. And then Jared McCain. Jared McCain came into the season, even in Summer League, he was showing that he had a really nice feel for the game. He was dribbling very well. He was shooting very well. He was shooting off the catch, off motion, and off the dribble. He played through contact very well, and he looked like he got to the free throw line exceptionally well as well. And you add all of that together, and I think that's an offense that can be really hard to guard, because I don't know how much you're going to double Joel Embiid if you have plus shooters on the floor like Maxey, McCain, and George on the floor that can also attack closeouts very well because they're all really good ball handlers. And when we look at the contents of what it takes to be a really good team in basketball, or just a really good offense, you have to have that paint presence. And I feel as though Joel Embiid is that paint presence, even if he plays out by the elbow or out to the 3-point line, I still do think, because even when Joel Embiid puts 2 feet in the paint, that's going to cause the defense to collapse. And there's going to be a lot of ball handlers that can make decisions out of closeouts and shoot the ball very well with Jared McCain, Tyrese Maxey, and Paul George. These guys are still very good players. So in this episode of At the Buzzer Sports, we're going to be talking about what the Philadelphia 76ers should do, or what I would do with the number 3 pick in the draft. Let's get started. I think Jason Tatum's injury, and I know this is a 76ers video and I should be talking about the Boston Celtics, but I think Jason Tatum's injury and him being out for most of the season is probably going to affect what a lot of these teams in the Eastern Conference do. And I'm going to have a different video talking about that and what this means for the entire Eastern Conference, but I think the Boston Celtics are vulnerable. And this is a world where you may not see the Boston Celtics in the Eastern Conference Finals like we've seen for maybe 4 out of the 5 last seasons. I think I still heard a report that Nick Nurse and Daryl Morey expect the entire team to be healthy come opening night. And if you're a Philadelphia 76ers fan, or if you're just working in that organization, that's a really good sign because you have such a good team and you have a lot of really good young assets. So the first thing I want to talk about is the Philadelphia 76ers sticking and picking at 3. And I think there are 2 prospects that you are probably going to get at 3 that you are going to get your money's worth at the 3rd pick, who I think are better prospects than others, or at least for this team, because my number 3 prospect in my big board would not necessarily fit with this team. So when we look at VJ Edgecombe, I think VJ Edgecombe like a Joel Embiid or a Paul George, and then you can have Jared McCain be that bench spark right off the bench, or you can play 3-guard lineups because VJ Edgecombe shows a lot of versatility at 6'5", and you can put him in a lot of places. And if we look at the Eastern Conference in general, especially since the Boston Celtics won't be in necessarily championship contention this season, when you look at a lot of teams in the Eastern Conference, you have the Cleveland Cavaliers, who run really small with their front court or backcourt. And then you look at the New York Knicks, who have Mikal Bridges and Jalen Brunson. You can really put VJ Edgecombe on Josh Hart or Mikal Bridges, and you won't necessarily get killed for that. Or if we look at the Milwaukee Bucks, you can put VJ on Damian Lillard, and I don't think Tyrese Maxey gets killed by Taurean Prince. And then I think Tyrese Maxey gets his transition partner. I think Tyrese Maxey is really good in the open floor. He's extremely quick. He gets downhill super quick. And now you have a running mate next to him that can catch lobs and dunk on anybody. That's going to be must-see TV. Now, with my drawbacks with taking VJ Edgecombe here, I think the guard position for the Philadelphia 76ers is just a little heavy. Like, I don't necessarily think it's crazy to say Quentin Grimes can maybe be what VJ Edgecombe is expected to be, just to a slightly lesser degree and maybe just a little bit cheaper. Now, over the season where Tyrese Maxey and Paul George and Joel Embiid were out, Quentin Grimes showed a really good display of shooting, on-ball defense, and rim pressure. And I think once he gets that head of steam downhill, he's so strong and he jumps so high that it's going to be really hard to contest his shots without fouling. And let's say there is a world where you draft VJ Edgecombe, and now you're going to have to make a lot of decisions. Do you want your backup backcourt to be Jared McCain and Quentin Grimes, and your starting backcourt to be Tyrese Maxey and VJ Edgecombe? Do you want VJ Edgecombe to learn a little bit more before you put him in the starting lineup and have him come off the bench with QG? Or do you want Jared McCain and VJ Edgecombe to come off the bench while QG plays next to Tyrese Maxey? Those are just a lot of decisions to make, and I think you can get some value if you were to trade back versus having a log jam at the guard position and stunning some of these guys' growth. I think you struck gold with Jared McCain and having him be that offensive threat, and he can play next to Tyrese Maxey or he can play off the bench, whatever you would like to do. But I do think there is like a wing depth and versatile wing depth that the Philadelphia 76ers are lacking, and I think that's what they should focus in this draft. And that moves me right next to Ace Bailey, to where I think Ace Bailey, out of the top three prospects, I think he's probably the least NBA ready out of Dylan Harper and Cooper Flagg. And that doesn't mean Ace Bailey is a bad player. I just think it's going to be a little bit longer before he comes along versus a guy like Cooper Flagg or Dylan Harper. And that's just because Ace Bailey really struggles with creating shots one-on-one. He created shots at a very alarming pace in college. He got beat to his spots a lot. His dribble wasn't the best. But then you have a guy that's 6'7", 6'8", who's ultra athletic and can to make all these tough shots. It's very intriguing to want to develop him into a on-ball shot creator. This is somebody that can play really well in transition. He's a good rebounder. He finishes around the rim pretty well. He could get better at his free throws, but that's something that we can work on as well. And my entire sentiment of Ace Bailey has been, you can't teach 6'9", 6'10", and ultra athletic. And then we get into the combine and he's measured as 6'7", 6'8", which kind of moved me back just a little bit off of him. I think this is somebody you're going to have to really put some seasoning into. You're really going to have to develop a little bit more than you would VJ or Cooper or Dylan, who I think you could drop into a playoff team and they could be contributors. And I just don't think the Philadelphia 76ers are in a space where they need to develop guys and give them a year or two to really come along. I think if they're going to draft somebody, you should be able to drop them in a situation and they could perform. So with sticking and picking at 3, I think if the Philadelphia 76ers do stick and pick at 3, I think they should go VJ Edgecombe before they go Ace Bailey. Or they could just draft somebody who's later in the lottery at 3, but I don't think that's a good decision without trading down. Now, up next, I was thinking about the Philadelphia 76ers trading the number 3 pick for a superstar, and a lot of those names have been Kevin Durant. Now, if Kevin Durant doesn't go to the Rockets or to the possible Spurs, I think the Philadelphia 76ers have a good package. I think it was just the third pick in Paul George for Kevin Durant. And I think for both sides, Devin Booker gets a number 3 pick that you can groom and develop, and he can probably contribute to a really good team. And you also get Paul George, who's somebody who's still good offensively and can still be good as a number 2 or number 3. And as for this Philadelphia 76ers, they would seamlessly fit in Kevin Durant. It would probably be a starting lineup of Tyrese Maxey, Jared McCain, maybe even Quentin Grimes, Kevin Durant, and Joel Embiid. And if healthy, I think that can be one of the better starting lineups in the NBA and one of the better offensive units in the NBA. But the only thing that really pushes me back from that is you're going to have to start paying guys. I think Quentin Grimes and Gershon Yabusele have to get paid this offseason. You're going to have to pay Jared McCain pretty soon. You just paid Tyrese Maxey, and Joel Embiid is on contract for a lot of money. I just think this would be a team that would get really expensive, and you're going to be in a situation like the New York Knicks where you're relying so much on your starting lineup that the bench is probably a non-factor. And last but not least, this is the thing that I'm on board with the most, and that's trading back. And I think there's a perfect candidate to trade back with. The Brooklyn Nets came into the season with some of the highest odds to have one of the worst records in the league and to be a front runner to get Cooper Flagg. That did not happen because Jordi Fernandez has been a fantastic coach throughout the season. You keep guys like D'Angelo Russell and Cam Thomas, and these guys are really big contributors to why this team won more games than expected. But if I'm the Philadelphia 76ers, look, we got this third pick. You guys have the 8th pick and the 26th pick and Cam Johnson. Bring him here. We need that. And I think both parties win in this situation because you get off Cam Johnson, you get the third pick, and let's say you get Kelly Oubre to make the money match, and now you have a young player you can build around, and you have a guy like Kelly Oubre who you can trade off of. And let's not forget, the Brooklyn Nets have 4 first-round picks this year. They have 4. They have the 3rd pick, the 19th pick, the 26th pick, and the 27th pick. So if you want to give up pick 8 and pick 26 to go get number 3 while you still have the 19th pick and the 27th pick, that is a win-win move for both sides of the party. I think Cam Johnson provides a lot of really good efficiency and a lot of really good off-ball 3-point shooting that this Philadelphia 76ers team could use to make it even more unstoppable. You can make this team extremely versatile with the lineups you can run. You can have a guy like Jared McCain and Quentin Grimes play with Cam Johnson and Joel Embiid while Paul George and Tyrese Maxey get a break. There's just always going to be a level of shooting and off-ball play when Joel Embiid is on the floor. And that's going to be a really hard offense to guard when you have guys like Tyrese Maxey and Jared McCain on the floor that can attack off closeouts, and Cam Johnson, who is one of the best shooters in the league, shooting off the catch. It is so exceptional off-ball. As for the Brooklyn Nets, they go and get their superstar guy or their potential superstar guy. You can draft VJ Edgecombe. You can draft Ace Bailey and be patient with him. Or you could draft my darling Kaman Malawach. And if you draft Kaman Malawach, you could trade Claxton to the Lakers. It's a win-win. And then the Philadelphia 76ers get the 26th pick in the draft. That can also bring in some more wing depth. Or you can go get a backup center. Even though I do think Adam Bona is probably going to be their starting back or their backup center for the foreseeable future. But you can draft a guy like Liam McNeely, Noah Penda, guys that can really guard or really shoot at a high level and have a lot of wing depth. I think with the 8th pick, you can probably draft Colin Murray Boyles, and he's such a rebounder and strong player overall to where he plays with his back to the basket. He drives really well. He finishes around the rim. He's a good playmaker. He's an excellent pick and roll defender, rim protector, and rebounder that you can get really versatile with those lineups. Let's say if you trade for Cam Johnson and you draft Colin Murray Boyles, when Joel Embiid is off the floor, you can have a lineup of Jared McCain, QG, Paul George, Cam Johnson, and Colin Murray Boyles. You have the rebounding, you have the defense, and you still have the offense and the spacing for Colin Murray Boyles to really drive around the rim and really be that paint presence that you would need. And then with the 26th pick, you can draft a guy like Liam McNeely, who's fallen down the board just due to injury at UConn. I still think he's a lottery level type of player. So all in all, I think the Philadelphia 76ers are in a really good spot in this draft. And I think we don't give enough credit for this team for always putting a competent team around Joel Embiid. Joel Embiid has never went a season, in my opinion, where the team has not been good enough for them to contend for at least an Eastern Conference Finals spot. And with the Boston Celtics falling and being injured over the season, this should be the year where they really go all in. I'm not even going to say really go all in, but just really execute on having an Eastern Conference Finals or Finals team. And I think the best possibility for that is them trading back with the Brooklyn Nets, going to get Cam Johnson, getting the 8th pick where they can draft Colin Murray Boyles, and getting the 26th pick where they can draft a Noah Penda or a Liam McNeely. So, ladies and gentlemen, if you guys like this type of content, please be sure to like, comment, and subscribe. I am going to be posting a lot more videos on the draft. I have a really nice mock draft coming with somebody who also does great draft work, who's also bigger than me on YouTube, so that's going to be pretty cool. Make sure you guys follow me on Twitter at ATB Sports 1. Make sure you guys follow me on TikTok at ATB Sports ENT. Make sure you guys follow me on Instagram at The Buzzer Sports. And make sure you guys join my playback room, because this offseason, we're going to be watching a lot of historic games, breaking down rumors, getting people to actually watch older basketball, because there's people on TikTok who talk about Bill Russell as if they watched him. So with all that being said, I'll see you guys tomorrow. Peace.